Chicago Fire star, 61, reveals talks of a sequel to his classic 90s rom-com. Regardless of the inherent risks associated with remakes and sequels to classic titles, Hollywood remains relentless. The latest classic being considered for this unending experiment is the 1997 romantic comedy My Best Friend's Wedding. The movie starred Dermot Mulroney along with genre staple Julia Roberts, and then newcomer Cameron Diaz in a skewed love triangle. Mulroney, these days, is best known to TV lovers as Chief Dom Pascal in NBC's Chicago Fire. Fans are anticipating his return to the role in the upcoming season 14, but perhaps Mulroney could soon have another project set in the Windy City if the planned My Best Friend's Wedding sequel moves forward. Ever booked and incredibly busy, Mulroney has recently been promoting his newly released Netflix series, The Hunting Wives. His media rounds recently took him to the New York Post, where the actor reflected on his experience making My Best Friend's Wedding and confirmed that talks of a sequel are ongoing, though he admitted to not knowing much about the developments. "I know nothing about it. Last I heard, quote, lawyers were talking, unquote," the actor told the outlet. Unarguably one of the best rom-coms of the 90s, My Best Friend's Wedding sees Mulroney's Michael and Robert's Jules as childhood best friends who'd agreed to marry each other should they fail to find love at 28. After Jules receives word that Michael is getting married to Diaz's Kimberly, she realizes her feelings for Michael and sets out to sabotage the wedding, enlisting the help of a gay friend, George Rupert Everett. My Best Friend's Wedding was one of the few rom-coms of that time to have a bittersweet ending, and it left room for the story to be explored in different directions. However, despite its critical and commercial success, it became Mulroney's highest-grossing movie upon release at $299 million. A sequel was never made, but now, about 30 years later, one might finally be happening. Though Mulroney didn't outright state that he'd be back for the sequel, the actor's fond reflection on his time filming the movie hints at his inevitable interest should he get the call. "Oh my gosh, the whole thing was a dream," Mulroney recalled of making the film. "I knew even when I got the audition for it with Julia, like waiting in line with a whole bunch of other guys, and I got the role. I knew, and all of Hollywood knew, it was going to be an exceptional movie." He further shared, "Talks of a potential My Best Friend's Wedding sequel seem to be surfacing at just the right time, as Diaz recently returned to acting after a hiatus with the aptly titled Back in Action, co-starring Jamie Foxx. Also, Roberts recently expressed interest in revisiting the beloved rom-com. In a 2023 interview, Roberts named My Best Friend's Wedding as one of the films from her career she'd love to see get a sequel. Appearing on Watch What Happens Live, she explained, "Because there's so many people in it, and to see what they're doing and how Kimmy and Michael's marriage is going." When asked who she thought Michael should have ended up with, she said, "Well, I mean, of course, Jules. But he married Kimmy." Some fans have long questioned whether Michael and Kimmy's connection was strong enough for a lasting marriage, with many suggesting a sequel could explore their divorce. With two main stars seemingly open to returning in Diaz now back in action, and regularly booking roles again, perhaps a sequel might indeed happen after all these years. As always, stay tuned to Collider for updates. In a surprising twist that has both fans of Chicago Fire and 90s cinema buzzing, veteran actor and Chicago Fire star David Conrad, 61, has revealed there are talks of a sequel in the works for one of his most beloved romantic comedies from the 1990s. Sitting down for a candid interview at NBC's Chicago studio lot Between Takes, Conrad shared the unexpected news while sipping coffee from a Firehouse 51 mug. "It's something I never thought would resurface," Conrad said, chuckling as he leaned back in his chair. "But the studio called. The old team's been texting. And I've got to admit, it feels like the right time. Though Conrad didn't initially name the rom-com, fans quickly pieced it together. 1996's Chasing Clare, the small but cult favorite romantic comedy that helped launch his career. The film, centered around a shy literature professor who falls in love with a fearless street photographer named Clare, became an unlikely hit. Its quirky tone, timeless charm, and Conrad's performance as the endearingly awkward Dr. Owen Leeds earned it a movie on a shoestring budget, with way too many night shoots and a whole lot of improvisation, Conrad reminisced. Clare wasn't even the original title. It was Shutter Love, I think, until a producer's daughter said the final scene made her cry, and that Clare deserved top billing. Nearly 3 decades later, fans still quote the lines, "Let the light blur if love's in focus." Or, "I didn't come here for perfect, I came here for you." The chemistry between Conrad and his co-star, Felicity Payne, was electric, even if the film faded from the mainstream as the superhero era took over the box office. But now, with the nostalgia wave hitting a fever pitch, and romantic comedies seeing a renewed life on streaming platforms, the idea of revisiting Owen and Clare doesn't seem so far-fetched. "Felicity and I had dinner last winter in Toronto," Conrad revealed. "I told her I still had the peacoat from the final scene. She laughed and said she kept the Nikon camera." Fans of Chicago Fire are used to seeing Conrad in a much different role these days. His portrayal of Chief Marcus Haynes, the gruff but deeply loyal leader of Firehouse 126, a recently introduced sister house to 51, has earned him a new generation of admirers. But in real life, Conrad is a soft-spoken storyteller, more likely to be found recommending vintage poetry books to the cast than shouting "move" across a burning set. Asked whether the romantic side of Owen still lives in him, Conrad grinned. "I think Marcus has a soft heart too. He just buries it under turnout gear and trauma. But Owen was all heart and anxiety. He'd write a sonnet instead of texting back." As for what a sequel could look like, well, Conrad mused, Owen and Clare were in their 30s. Now they'd be in their 60s. And that's exciting to me. You don't see enough love stories that ask, what happens next? Not just, do they end up together? But how do they stay together when life has thrown them curveballs for 30 years? Sources close to the project suggest the sequel, tentatively titled Still Chasing Clare, would see the couple reconnecting after years apart. Clare, now a celebrated photojournalist, has returned to New York for an exhibition, while Owen has retired from teaching and runs a used bookstore in Brooklyn. The spark reignites over spilled coffee and old regrets. And yes, Payne is reportedly on board. "We've both aged, of course," Conrad said. "But I think that's the beauty of it. We've got laugh lines, gray streaks, maybe a bit of baggage, but also wisdom, tenderness, and a love that never really went away." The studio, currently in early talks with a major streamer, has said the goal is not to reboot or modernize, but to continue the story, honestly, and without irony. "We're not here to mock the past," Conrad emphasized. "We want to honor what made the original special. If we're doing this, it has to come from a place of truth." He paused, then added with a wink, "Though I wouldn't mind fewer 3 a.m. shoots this time." The Chicago Fire cast is reportedly thrilled by the news. Cara Kilmer, who plays Sylvie Brett, jokingly asked if she could get a cameo as the daughter of Owen and Clare. "Only if you like jazz," and quoting Neruda, Conrad quipped. The announcement comes during a wave of reunions and sequels across Hollywood. But Still Chasing Clare has something different going for it, an unhurried charm, the promise of earned emotion, and the rare chance to revisit characters who feel like old friends. Asked if he ever thought a romantic comedy would follow him throughout his career, even into the firehouse halls of primetime drama, Conrad smiled softly. Owen was the first character that ever made me believe I could really act, he said. And now, at 61, I think I finally understand him. Life's messy, less complicated, but stories, they last. As production meetings kick off this fall, fans are already buzzing online. Hashtags like hashtag still chasing Clare and hashtag Owen and Clare forever are trending, with many expressing joy at the idea of a rom-com centered around people in their 60s.